Hi, David. Thank you for being here with us with the People Center Internet community. And today we will have a very special conversation with you as one of the co-authors of the People Center Economy book, which we are celebrating 5 years. Thanks for giving us this time and for opening up this conversation for all of us.
Oh, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
David, you will talking about the book and the people-centered economy concept, how you will explain that concept to a 5-year-old kid.
Oh, yeah. Well, so the concept is that what we want is an innovation economy where people can do meaningful work together with people they like, and where they get valued by the rest of the economy, people they don't know, and where they can provide for the people they love. And this is what the economy is about. And it's about people valuing each other. So at the end of the day, the economy is about being here for each other. And what the people-centered economy does is that it actually says that the value in the economy is the value that people see in each other. And that products and services, which are seen as the value in the economy in the way we see it today, that those are the means for people to find value in each other. So it sounds a little bit abstract, but I can give an example of something that sounded very abstract and that everybody takes for given today, right? And that's that the Earth goes around the sun. Now, anybody can go out and look at the sky, and it's pretty obvious that it's the sun that moves around us, right? We're not moving, the sun is moving, and anybody can see it, right? So it was actually a very abstract concept that the Earth would go around the sun. And the only reason that we actually think that today is if we look at the planets and the stars, or the planets mainly, their orbits become very strange in the night sky if you assume that the sun is moving around us. So if you just track the planets in the sky, they kind of move in almost like spirals. But once you accept that the Earth goes around the sun, all the planet orbits become super simple. And the same thing with the people-centered economy is that once you accept that the value in the economy is not in the products and services, but that these are the means for people seeing value in each other, then it becomes super simple. Questions like, is AI going to create jobs or destroy jobs? Well, one of my life principles is that nothing is so misleading as the right answer to the wrong question. And it is really the wrong question. The right question is, AI can be used for creating jobs or for automating, and it can be used for helping us to earn, and it can be used for helping us to spend. Maybe that is the people-centered economy way of seeing it. Do we have as much AI innovation for helping us earning a livelihood as we have for helping us spending it? And if we have much more innovation to help us spend the money, well, then we have a problem. Then we need to put more innovation into helping us earn money so that you reach a balance. And the result of that will be the people-centered economy, where you have the economy consists of a lot of people, and then you're going to have technology and organizations that compete to make people find value in each other. And they will offer two types of services. They will offer you the service you need for earning a livelihood and services for spending it. And today we know that almost all innovation is there to help us spend money. You are getting very few good job offers today. You're getting very few offers to help you earn a livelihood, and the offers you get are not good. It's like being Uber driver. And, it's not a bad job, but it's also not really a good livelihood. Most people want something much better. And there are no companies out there competing to give you better offers. That's something you expected to take care of yourself. And that's something in the people-centered economy of seeing it, you should be the customer for getting a good livelihood. And companies should compete to offer you better ways of earning a good livelihood, where you earn money by working with people you like, doing things you find meaningful, and that other people find valuable, so that you can support yourself and your family.
Thank you for sharing. And the analogy of the sun, I think it makes it very or much easier for for many of us to really understand the concept. David, reflecting on the Copernican revolution that is proposed in the People-Centered Internet Economy book, where people, as you just mentioned it, right, not tasks or products, are placed at the center of the economy. How can you share an example of how this should look today? And if someone is doing it today?
Well, there are actually not so many doing it. And above all, it's not seen in this way. People don't have the system view. So if they are doing it, it's not seen as a people-centered economy. The key point here is to see how many companies see their workers as their customers, and that the service they provide to their workers is to earn a livelihood. Because if you see it that way, then, if you're a worker, you want a livelihood, I come to you and I say, look, here, I'm offering you a great livelihood. I don't care what you do. I care about that you're happy and that you earn a lot of money. And I want you to be happy so you don't go to the other guys who want to offer you a livelihood. And in this scenario, of course, the work that I give you becomes almost like a commodity, right? I try to find work out there to give you the best offer for earning a livelihood. And I will try to give you, all the kind of training and tests and whatever. I will invest in you so that you can earn a great livelihood, and you want to continue earning that from me, right? So in many ways, the service that is offered today of that type is usually what you call a really good employer. But it's only that today a really good employer doesn't tell you, I don't care what you do, just to earn money, because they have some very specific thing in mind, that they build cars or they build, houses or whatever. But they really understand the value of their workers and they want them to stay. So now you can imagine in, a people-centered internet future with a people-centered economy, you will have companies that use AI so that they don't really have a business, what we mean today, by that people should do anything special that they then sell to what is the customer outside. These guys are more that the worker is the customer, and you do the best you can to provide to them means to earn a livelihood. Any of these good companies today, some of them are good, they offer you often the possibility to earn money. And there is a big difference between earning money and earning a livelihood. Because with a livelihood, it means that you can live, right? You can take a mortgage so that you can buy a house. You can send your kids to college, whatever, all this thing that you basically need to be employed to have today. So I would say that if you would take a good company, if you would take all these kind of gig companies and put them together into one, so they can offer people to do lots of stuff, and then they offer you an employment pretty much on your terms, well, then you would have it. But nobody does that today. And I think that one reason why they don't do it is because, you know, you would need very advanced AI to kind of go to each person and see, okay, you know, what's the most valuable job that you can do so that you and I earn as much as possible while you are having a good time doing it. And it's much easier to go the other way and say, okay, we're going to commoditize your job. And here we rent drivers to people. Can you drive a car? Sure. Okay, here's $20 an hour, right? If you even get that. But this will be very different. It will be to try to kind of use AI to tailor a job for you that makes you as valuable as possible. And at the time when we wrote this book, you know, this was science fiction. It was, I don't know, 5 years ago, but it was science fiction then. But, you know, now these technologies are actually coming so that one can do that. And we had this in the book. There's a very central scenario that we call Jobly, which is a job matching service. We called it like the Turing test for job matching, right? And well, now that computers actually have passed the Turing test, which nobody really thought they would, I believe that we can also pass this other Turing test for jobs, which means you have an organization, they have a need that they might not be aware about. And then you have a person that has skills and talents that they might not be aware about or they don't know are valuable, right? And then you have a matching service that kind of brings them both together and makes both realize that this is a good deal. You know, this is something that this is a job that has been performed by specialized agents. You know, it's like opera singers or actors. They have their agents that find the best jobs for them, right? We can do this with the AI that has come now with the large language models, actually. It's technologically possible today, right? And I can show an example. You know, when we wrote the book, I kind of knew that the technology would come someday, right? But I didn't know when, right? I thought it was going to be a bit further in the future. But there are also other thresholds here, and that's that another big problem for starting the people-centered economy is you need an innovation ecosystem for creating these services, you know, for creating a livelihood as a service and companies that offer that to people. Maybe we should take a little example here to show. I will show one of the more, you know, more appreciated initiatives we had in I4J Innovation for Jobs was that with cool abilities. And we said everybody, every person can be valuable for someone else. Many people with disabilities, they actually have special skills that usually they can do better than others, right? So we know the autism spectrum disorder, where people have difficulties having ordinary jobs because of the disabilities that come with ASD. They have some amazing skills like photographic memory or possibility to manage detail and so on, which has become pretty valuable in the computer industry. So you will note that in the computer industry, there's a much higher proportion of people with ASD. We kind of reasoned that this applies for many other conditions. And we also found out that when we try to discuss it as a general phenomenon, we found out there was no word for these enhanced abilities. There was no theory for it. So we coined cool abilities as the enhanced abilities that co-occur with disabilities in disabling conditions, right? In special conditions. And we made a pretty known paper where we gave some 4 examples. I think we had these 4 at the top. Here we put in the table, and we kind of made a lot of literature research, and we found then which were the symptoms or disabilities that you had, and then we did a lot of this kind of went through research papers and found what had they shown were enhanced abilities that often co-occurred, and then we made a table, and it was a very popular thing. Now, so this is with GPT-4. I did this on my own in a few hours. So we started with choosing here a number of conditions, right? You can see quite a few, right? And then I asked GPT to find the cool abilities then, partly the peer-reviewed ones from scientific papers, and then anecdotal ones, right? There is something called ONET, which US Department of Labor has set up. They've taken 1,000 occupations, and they have kind of listed all, they have something like 250 various skills and abilities, how much of each one needs, how high in each one it ranks then for each of these 1,000 occupations. So I GPT to kind of take this language here and turn it into ONET language there, right? So in the next step, which I didn't do yet, but you could easily then go to the ONET tables and you can match which occupations have, where these things here in the autism spectrum disorder, for example, problem sensitivity, deductive reasoning, where that is strong, and where social perceptiveness and coordination is not really required, right? So with this, you could actually make an app that could tell employers if they have special jobs that need some kind of special strengths and not so much else, then they could recruit people with cool abilities, right? And you could obviously, before that, show this to people with disabilities, and so that they can kind of identify their own strengths, because the problem with the disability language is that it focuses on what people cannot do. So when you are disabled, you are defined by what you cannot do. And that is disabling in itself. With everybody else, we're talking about jobs and what they can do. But for disabled people, when we talk about jobs, we talk about what they can't do, which is maybe the most disabling factor of all. It's a language thing. So you could imagine now, to continue the scenario, I'll go back here. So to continue this scenario, you can imagine that we now have this database. We have a community that has built a large language model that has kind of specialized on finding cool abilities for people with disabilities, and is really good at it, and that can really do really good job matching and so on. To create a company that focuses on this is difficult, right? So the question is, okay, so which jobs require echolocation? Well, really none, because so few people have it. So we haven't created jobs for that. And, in some jobs it might be good. But the question is, could we imagine future high value jobs requiring echolocation? Could we invent good jobs for people with echolocation? Well, if we could, these people will be, they could be very valuable because there aren't so many people who have it. Which is just the reason why because there aren't so many people who have it, because it's rare, that's why there aren't any jobs that require it today, because, there's no economy of scale in it, right? But also with the internet and with AI, this whole kind of economy of scale thing changes, right? So actually, the previous industrial revolution was mass production. With AI and the internet, the current industrial revolution is mass personalization, which means personalizing things on a massive scale. And it's beginning to come to products, and services. But the next step is to take it to jobs, to mass personalize jobs. Now, Okay, so that we can see as an incredible potential for a future economy. And let me remind you, today, the global GDP is about $100 trillion. In the global workforce, there's maybe maximum 20% that like their jobs and are engaged. Then you have 20% who hate their jobs. They go to work in order to tell everybody how bad things are, right? And the rest, they don't care. They go to work in order to get paid and get home at 5 o'clock, right? So imagine if this workforce creates value for $100 trillion a year, if every person had a tailored job, and you maybe got up to 80% people who really appreciate their job, how much more value would that global workforce create? Well, many times, right? So we're talking about here that, tailoring jobs for people, a people-centered economy, creating jobs for people, inventing high-value jobs for people with ecolocation. This can increase the value that we create for each other by, I don't know, 5, 10 times something. Right? So the incentive is there for making a much, much, much stronger economy. But now comes the problem. You want to have companies that will invent high value jobs for people with, say, ecolocation. Okay. Let's say that you are an entrepreneur and you have an idea how to do this. Okay. So you go to a venture capitalist and you say, here you have people who are blind. They don't earn very much money today. Many of them have ecolocation, and I have a way of inventing jobs for them so that they will earn a lot. Okay. So the venture capitalist will ask you, okay, cool, interesting. How much will they earn? And you will say, well, I don't know. The market has to say that, but I bet that these jobs are very valuable. And already then the venture capitalist will tell you, well, find that out and come back to me, right? Because they want to know the market size. So, I mean, the usual case is you come to a venture capitalist and you say, okay, here are these pairs of glasses. They cost $10 to make today on the market. I found a way to do them for $1. And I can disrupt the whole market. And here are numbers, how much big the market is, how much we'll earn, and so on. Will you invest in me? And they'll say yes, right? But there's no way for venture capitalists to kind of invest in companies that innovate jobs for people with cool abilities, because they don't know the market size. In order to build that ecosystem, you need to have government engagement like we had when we once upon a time built the ecosystems for innovative companies that we have today. And we've got to put universities into finding research methods to answer questions, create methods for, that answer the questions, what is the market size, or bring down the risk, by, for example, matching private investors in innovation companies that innovate jobs for people. If they say, we put in as much, I'm the government, I'll put in as much money into this company as you, the private investor, does, and you can buy me out for nominal value within 5 years, well, that halves your risk. You get half the downside, double the up, or keep the whole upside. It's a good deal. That's how we built the innovation ecosystem we have today. We have to have the same for building the ecosystem for companies that innovate great jobs, great personalized jobs for people. And the technology we have today, and this is LLMs, this is the technology, and it can do it, but we still now need government policy and innovation policy to kind of kickstart the innovate jobs part.
Now, David, let's go into some of the trends that we have right now, and let's say in the workforce. And one of those is that Gen Z, right, that is right now on the workforce, perceives work just as work. And there is even a say right now that is that after decades of seeing or perceiving work as our life, we are finally like evolving to seeing, to make work for our life, right? Like to be part of it and not just the whole of it. Gen Z value flexibility even more or over high salaries.
Right.
Did you foresee these trends 5 years ago? Like, was kind of in your radar, or how? And the main question here is, how different is the economy today from what you imagined 5 years ago?
As I saw it, it's like everybody wants to have flexibility, and that's maybe because I see that in myself, right? But it's also that you want to be offered, right? I think it's like there has been a trend that people say, well, I'm independent and I don't care about the employer and I'm going to be free and stuff like that. And that actually works very nicely until you decide to have a family. And then you need to have a mortgage, you need to have all this kind of stuff. And then it gets difficult, right? So it's easy for young people to kind of just live a free life. But it's very difficult for families to do it. And you know, if you look at the economy is actually pretty Darwinian. I mean, if you have an economy where all people go out and live a free life and they can't have kids, but it's very fun to have a, you know, they could have kids, but they don't because they prefer having a free life, right? Well, in due time, that culture is going to disappear, right? Because you need to have kids for cultures to survive. It's very simple. What the people-centered economy is says more that you, the worker, you are the customer. And you should expect companies to come to you and say, I have all these, you know, AI and engineers and computers and everything, and I'm going to use them to help you find a way to earn a livelihood that you really like. I mean, it's as if you buy a product or a service today. They all the time tell you how much you're going to like it. And they really, customer is king, right? And that's how I envision. So it's not exactly Gen Z, but it could be a solution that could appeal to Gen Z, match their expectations. It's a vision that could match their expectations of what they want their lives to be and still allow them to have kids without having to say, okay, I was free when I was young and now I have a job in the factory. And whatever you do in life, you should be the people-centered economy. It's not that workers work for organizations. You know, organizations aren't people. The purpose of organizations is to serve people. So you should be served by organizations, not the other way around. And you should be served by the organizations that give you livelihood, or you should be served by organizations that help you spend it.
Let's go to our final question on this conversation, and is, I mean, right now it's 5 years from the release of the People-Centered Economy book. What do you think we will be discussing in 5 years from now, when we will be celebrating the 10 years of the People-Centered Economy? How do you envision it?
It's very difficult for me to predict what's going to be in 5 years' time, because this can go in two directions. It can either be the people-centered economy, as I told you about, and we have an innovation ecosystem for innovating great jobs. And in that case, we're going to be moving toward a great future if people already start getting personalized jobs, right? And you have jobs for people with cool abilities, for example, and companies innovating those jobs. The other scenario, which is kind of more apparent right now, is that AI is going to be used for killing jobs, and that we don't have an innovation ecosystem for innovating new jobs for the people who lose their jobs. And in this case, you might see a slowing economy, because the economy depends on that people earn money so that they can spend it. And if fewer people earn money, and you have a small amount of people who get very rich, well, yeah, it's not a powerful economy. The most powerful economy is a middle class economy where everybody belongs to the middle class, more or less. And that's what we fear now. I mean, a lot of people might be losing their jobs. What we can see now is that, I mean, the idea of a people-centered economy, frankly, I don't know how many people read the book. I don't, you know, it's nothing that economists talk about very much. And so it remains for it to kind of be discovered or kickstarted. And I'd say that as soon as we get innovation companies that innovate livelihoods, good livelihoods, and that they earn a lot of money on that, then the rest are going to follow. Then it can be pretty fast. So we need to have something like a Google or a Microsoft or something that succeeds in innovating jobs for people. If there are any economists in the watching this, you might ask, well, you know, this all sounds good, but what about labor inflation, wage inflation? And of course, you know, in the traditional economic view, what I've been talking about here, that companies compete, jobs compete for workers. Today, that means that salaries go up. There's a lack of workers on the labor market. You start paying a lot of money for workers who don't know their jobs. And that's seen as something very bad for the economy. It is something that's very bad for the economy. And so actually a requirement for a people-centered economy is that it should be very easy to automate jobs. So it's good that you can automate jobs, right? So what you will have is you will have a balance between automating jobs that will go away and creating new jobs that require people that they will have. And when you then, you know, as a business person, you don't want to, you know, you need to be careful with your money, right? And if there is some job that people don't want to do, then there is going to be a higher incentive to automate that job. And if we have a high ability to, so we can automate almost any job, well, then there will be put effort into automating that job so people don't need to do it. And the competition is going to be remaining on the jobs that we want people to do. So then that will counteract wage inflation. And so the requirement for the people-centered economy is also that you have the ability to automate very many jobs in order to keep wage inflation down. And you put the competition into creating personalized jobs that people want and that, you know, that aren't easily commoditized. Yeah.
So, David, thank you for this amazing conversation. It has been so enlightening to hearing your perspectives, and who more than you that actually work on the theory on the people-centered economy book as a co-author with Vincerf, and to just share with all of us, not only with the people-centered internet, but actually with everybody out there who is interested, right, on this topic. And we just so much appreciate you for your time, for your contribution. And yeah, let's hope that we will have more conversations in the future about the implementation with new technologies, with new windows and new key elements that just will keep on appearing on our future. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you.